Springfield could see cuts to the city budget if a group of city aldermen get their way. 7 aldermen released a set of cuts as a counter to a series of tax increases Mayor Jim Langfelder has proposed to balance the budget. News Channel 20's Brendan Cullerton is live with how aldermen plan to cut costs and why the city budget director says their ideas won't work. Brendan?
A majority of the city's aldermen released a series of spending cut proposals yesterday. They're now talking about those with Mayor Jim Langfelder at City Council right now. Let's take a look at some of those proposals, and these are all in addition to a 2% spending cut across the board. They say they can save $1.1 million by holding off improvements to the municipal center complex. The city would also ask for nearly $1.3 million in repayment from CWLP. The utility was given about $4.5 million from the city's corporate fund a few years ago. Aldermen also say they can save $1.1 million by slowing hiring and removing all currently vacant positions except public safety jobs.
Police personnel, fire personnel, public works personnel, Oak Ridge Cemetery and Library will not be affected in those vacancy cuts. They'll be able to fill those positions, they'll be able to maintain essential services. Those will not be affected. There are other areas in the budget that these cuts are going to come from.
Aldermen say these aren't hard-line stances. They do see some room for compromise. They think these budget suggestions start the conversation.
These are suggestions to the administration. We could go in and say cut 2% across the board, and that's what we've asked to do. And then the mayor can say, well, we're going to cut this or cut that. But we're trying to cut areas that's not going to be affecting city services, and that's the most important thing.
Let's take a look at some of the major tax increases Mayor Langfelder has proposed. The city's budget director, Bill McCarty, says the cuts aldermen have proposed are unrealistic. He says only about a quarter of them are possible, and he says the city has contractual obligations they need to keep, and holding off construction improvements would be dangerous. McCarty also tells me he sees a lot of the alderman proposals as simply temporary fixes, and he says those are unsustainable in the long run. What the city needs, in his opinion, is a way to increase revenue with sales tax revenue on the decline. Reporting live in Springfield, Brendan Cullerton, News Channel 20.